Good morning. It's a gloomy one today. Probably don't need these sunglasses, but they're there in case it decides to come out. But I think it's going to be about 40 degrees on this run today, so didn't need the jacket. A little bit warmer. But interested to try out today the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite. I posted a review recently of the Deviate Nitro 2, which is really the training companion shoe to this one. This is the fully carbon plated racing shoe in Puma's lineup. Puma really had a tough time when these shoes first came out of getting them distributed to the public. The Nitro Elite was a really well-reviewed shoe by a lot of people, but it seemed that nobody was really able to get their hands on them. Puma had some serious distribution issues post-pandemic. So this is one that I was interested in, but never really thought about getting until I tried the Deviate Nitro 2, and that one impressed me so much that I really wanted to try out the racing version of that shoe. So I was able to get these on sale. So I'm gonna take these out for a fast run today. Very interesting. So just finished my warm-up in the Deviate Nitro Elites, and these feel absolutely nothing like the Deviate Nitro 2. Completely separate shoe. So they both have Deviate and Nitro in the name, but that's about where the similarities end. Such a different shoe overall. It's kind of amazing how different they are and that they still have the same name. The first thing that really stands out with this shoe is just how light it is. This is the lightest shoe that I have. It's lighter than the Kumisen, lighter than the Vaporfly, lighter than the Metaspeed Sky. It's just so light. So this really helps you to pick up your feet. Feels like you're almost not wearing a shoe. The upper is also incredibly thin and translucent, very breathable. Also a very tight fit. I have a 12 in all three of the Puma shoes I have, and this is the only one where I'm like, maybe I should go a half size up, but then again, it's fitting me kind of perfectly, so I don't really want to go a half size up. But it's just much tighter in the toe box, a little bit narrower, and the upper doesn't give you as much space there. So like my big toe is kind of up against the top of the shoe. Not completely against the front, but it's like touching the top of the upper. So we'll see how this feels over a longer run. Just did the warm-up so far, but also this has the full Nitro Elite foam, whereas the Deviate Nitro 2 has Nitro Elite in the forefoot and regular Nitro in the heel. But these foams feel really different to me, even though they're both supposed to be Nitro Elite foam. In this shoe, it's not as bouncy as it is in the Deviate Nitro 2. The Deviate Nitro 2 feels, the foam in there feels softer and bouncier. This feels a little bit more like the foam in the Speed 1 and Speed 2 from Saucony. It's a little bit more firm. So I'm getting a nice roll from this shoe. It's not as bouncy, and the carbon plate is also not in your face. It's not a super stiff shoe. It's not feeling like it's trying to change my foot strike. So to me right now, this is feeling like a really natural, smooth shoe with a nice kind of combination of bounce and roll, where it's really just kind of letting me run. But I'm gonna see now, I'm gonna turn up the pace and see how fast I can go on these intervals. But the shoe really is just feeling light and like I'm almost not wearing a shoe. That's so comparing this to like the Vaporfly is definitely more propulsive. I feel like that shoe is doing more to help me run fast and help me be efficient. But this shoe is just trying to get out of my way and be as light as possible and just let me kind of roll through my stride effortlessly. So a very different experience, but obviously got a lot more running to do. Let's see how this does when I turn up the pace. Well, all right, in the middle of the intervals now, but just thought I'd say something on this break. Holy crap, these things are fast. Kind of feeling like Ricky Bobby right now. I want to go fast, and if you ain't first, you're last, which doesn't make any sense because, you know, you got second place, third place, even if you lived your whole life by that motto. But wow, these are quick. Okay, Puma, I'd like to formally apologize to you for ignoring you for too long, for sleeping on you as a brand, because, man, these are great too. What the heck? The Deviate Nitro 2, one of the best shoes I've tried ever, just amazing all around. And then these ones, the Deviate Elite, soft, bouncy, comfortable, awesome. I just did another interval session where I did 1 minute fast, 1 minute recovery with a warm up and a cool down, very similar to the run I recently did in Deviate Nitro 2. You can see the numbers when I get home. I know I'm gonna be faster in this shoe. These are just like, it's like not wearing a shoe. I said the upper fit kind of tight, but it's actually nice. It actually feels really good, especially when I'm running fast. Your foot's just kind of locked in there perfectly. My heel is not moving at all. And it's almost like if you put on a wetsuit or running tights, you know, where it's very tight to your body, but also comfortable. That's what this upper is like. It's a very tight fitting upper, but it actually is comfortable. And these almost remind me of like the Speed 1, but with a carbon plate, but not as stiff as the Pro, the Saucony Endorphin Pro. And they're lighter than both of those shoes. So first impression of these, really excellent. I have a lot more runs to do, but something else that was impressive at the end of that interval session when I was doing the cool down for about 2 miles, need to see what pace I was running, but I think I was running in like the low to mid 7-minute pace super comfortably. After doing that hard interval session, these were just gliding along, feeling really nice even after that hard work. Makes me think these would be really excellent as a half marathon or even a marathon shoe. They're less assistive than a lot of shoes that I have, like the Vaporfly and the Adios Pro 3. Those ones you can really kind of feel the shoe working with you to do more. But these ones, it's just, they're so light. It's just a completely different feeling. So got to do some more types of runs in these. But first impression, amazing again. Puma, you're killing it. Cue the roar. So the Deviate Nitro Elite. Looks like Puma knows how to make running shoes. Good job to them. So this one, you know, as you saw from that video there, I find this shoe very light, very fast, very natural feeling. Now, that has some real strong positives to it, but then there's also a few negatives to it that I experienced in some of the other runs I did after that initial run. I think that initial run was seeing this shoe in its natural habitat, where it most wants to be, which is running fast intervals, where you're turning your feet over, trying to give it all you got. This shoe just gets out of your way. It's so light. You turn over your stride so quickly. The foam sinks in a little bit to give you a little bit of responsiveness, but it's really not that bouncy. And the carbon plate in the shoe is there, but this is still a carbon plated shoe that you can bend. So it does give you some stiffness, some stability in the shoe, but it really doesn't give you that much pop. So that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Really, the shoe that this reminds me the most of is the one right behind me there. That's the Adidas Takumi Sen 8, which is one of my favorite tempo shoes. And that's kind of where I'm having a hard time with this one now, because it's like, is it a race shoe? Is it a tempo shoe? Yes, to both of those questions. But depending on what I was doing, I don't know that I would choose this as a race shoe. And kind of what I mean by that is, I find this to be very fast, very good when I'm trying to run those quick paces. And when I was doing those intervals, those sprints, this was really excelling, you know, really kind of blowing me away how good it was, because it was so light and I could get up to those really fast speeds. Very similar to what I'm able to do in the Kumisen 8, but also very similar to the Kumisen 8 when you really kind of settle into a pace and you're running for a longer period of time. Then the fact that the shoe doesn't give you as much assistance kind of hurts you over a longer race. So I feel like both of these shoes would really be better for, you know, sprints, track work, tempo kind of work. But then when you're doing longer efforts, that's where lacking some of the assistance that some of the other carbon plated shoes give you becomes a problem to me. Both of these shoes have a really tight fitting, narrow upper that I find really hugs my foot really well. They have a similar heel cup as well. This has no actual structure in the heel, but the way that Adidas does this heel, this little sling kind of here, wraps around my heel and it just locks in there really, really well. And with the Puma shoe, it's similar. It's no real structure in the heel, but it has that same kind of shape to it. And this does have the bumper pads on the inside, kind of similar to what's in the Vaporfly in the back. So no heel slippage in this shoe at all. It's funny with running shoes recently, there's all these different categories of shoes. You know, you have your daily trainer, your max cushion daily trainer, your tempo shoe, your race day shoe, and now we're even subdividing race day shoes into ones for shorter races, one specifically for marathon. So the thing that's kind of interesting with carbon plated shoes in general, just because it's a carbon plated shoe doesn't mean it's going to feel a certain way. That's one thing that I've really experienced with the lots of things that I've tried, you know, over the last few years. Just because it has a carbon plate and super foam, it's not going to feel the same. Every shoe is so different, and they really seem to skew to one side of the spectrum or the other. And what I mean by that is, it has a carbon plate. Do you feel the plate in there? Does it feel like it's doing something to assist you, or is it just part of the shoe design and you're really not getting that much back from it? So that's where with this one, the carbon plate is in there. It's just not an overly stiff shoe. It's still flexible. I can still bend it. So this one, its real strength is its lightweight nature, where it's really light. It doesn't sink in too much. I like the consistency of this foam, so it's giving me a nice amount of rebound, but I'm not sinking into it too much, so it's not making me get sloppy. But also, again, as I mentioned, over those longer distances, I feel like I might kind of run out of gas if I was using this shoe for a half marathon or a marathon later in the race. That's where the shoes that have the carbon plate that's a little bit more assistant can kind of help get you through those later miles. When I did a few longer runs in this shoe, trying to maintain like a tempo pace, that's where I actually kind of started to struggle a little bit towards the end. And that's where shoes like the Vaporfly over here really shine. Like, this feels like such a different shoe. It's so funny too, when I look at this one next to all the other shoes that are my size, it just looks comically smaller. Like, if I actually line these up, and it's just the fit of this one, the heel comes out and the midsole actually kind of goes underneath it. Like, the heel comes back further than the midsole, whereas the Vaporfly's got, you know, this giant protrusion of midsole out the back of the shoe. But with the Vaporfly, really more than any other shoe, I feel the propulsion in this shoe. Kind of the harder I step into it, the more power I put into my strides, the more this just kind of bends and pops right back and gives me that explosive power from it. I'm not feeling that from the Puma shoe. So if I was running just really quick intervals, I might actually be faster in this one because I'm so light on my feet and I get that really quick turnover. But if I'm running like a 6-mile race, 13-mile race, I'm going to run out of gas with this one, whereas this one's going to keep me chugging along. Every time I put my foot down, this is going to give me that spring back. So, you know, comparing these just straight off the bat, I definitely would go for the Vaporfly between these two shoes. Going into carbon plated shoes and how they can feel so differently, again, this is the Asics Metaspeed Sky. This, to me, of all the shoes I have, has by far the firmest carbon plate in there. It takes so much effort to bend this. So this shoe is also on the lighter side. I took it out for a run recently on the track where it was feeling really stiff to me. I did actually run a half marathon in this shoe in about 1 hour and 31 minutes. I just missed 1 hour 30 that time. My watch was not agreeing with the course on the time, so lesson learned on that one. I was like getting so close to the finish line. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, no, I'm not. There's like 300 yards left. What happened? So I did enjoy this shoe in the past. But this one is definitely on the firm side where you really feel that carbon plate working for you, but I feel like the Vaporfly to me is a better implementation of that for my use. And then also the one recently that really has done a great job for me is the Adios Pro 3. This one has Adidas's carbon rods instead of the carbon plate, so it's a little bit more flexible. This shoe's also on the stiff side, but the foam in this reminds me of this one. This is similar to Lightstrike Pro, where it has that a little bit of compression and bounce back. It feels like it's going to be a very durable foam. I don't sink into it too much, but again, for a longer race, even though this shoe is heavier, I think I would choose this one because it's going to give me more propulsion and kind of help me when I get tired to continue to keep up those higher paces. Then the other shoe that I really have to mention when talking about the Deviate Elite is the Deviate Nitro 2. I did a review of this shoe recently where I really loved it, and I still really love it. And even now, having run in this shoe a decent amount, if I had a choice between the two, I would actually pick this one. I think it's going to be more useful for more things than the Elite would be. It's interesting too because they both have the Nitro Elite foam in the forefoot, but in this shoe it feels much softer. It feels like they might have changed the compound. This is actually much softer, much bouncier. This one has the full carbon plate in there. This one has a carbon composite plate, so it's actually more flexible. But what was kind of interesting about that, this foam feeling a little bit softer, this shoe actually felt like it had more pop to me than this one does. Now this one I'd be able to get it up to higher speeds just because it's so light, but this one feels like it's assisting me more. So actually if I was going to run a half marathon in one of these two shoes, I would actually pick this one because it's going to be more comfortable, a little bit more stable, and I feel like it's actually more assistive than this shoe is. So interestingly, as I said when I was kind of running in it, when I tried this one and then went to this one, they're such a different shoe. Again, to me, this one is more like a tempo trainer that you could use for racing, but it's a little bit more on the heavy side. This is like the stripped down version of that, where it's so light and fast. But I really think where this one excels is very similar to the Kumisen 8, where I love both of these shoes, but you know, I'm not going to run a long race in this shoe, just like I'm not going to run a long race in this one. However, this one is also marketed as a race shoe that you could use for a marathon. So for me, for a marathon, I would choose the Vaporfly, I would choose the Adios Pro 3. The assistance that those shoes gives me is helping me more over a longer race. But if I want to run some tempo sessions or run my fastest lap on the track, that's where these shoes kind of really have an advantage. But given the choice, I would actually have not bought this shoe, kept using this one, and then bring this one out for those tempo sessions, because I actually got an even better price on this one on sale. So really what I should do is I'll do a comparison of these two shoes because I really think this fits in more with the Takumi Sen 8 in a comparison than it really does with the Vaporfly and the Adios Pro 3. So buy it, wait, or second rate, this shoe is kind of a tale of two shoes to me. Absolutely fantastic at speed sessions going quick, but I don't think I would use it for a longer race. It's actually on the less expensive side as far as carbon plate race shoes go. This retails for $200 as opposed to $225, $250, $275. I was able to pick these up for $150. For that money, it's a excellent tempo shoe that I could also use for short races. I was able to get the Vaporfly for about $150. I think those are going to continue to be on sale, especially now that the Vaporfly 3 is about to come out, which I'm very interested in that shoe. That'll probably be on this channel soon because Vaporfly is one of my all-time favorite shoes, so I'm looking forward to seeing what changes they made to it. Since I got the Vaporfly for $150, if you gave me the choice of either of these shoes for $150, I would pick the Vaporfly all day, just because I think that's more of a versatile shoe. I can use it for more things, and I feel like it really excels at going faster for a longer period of time, whereas this one, again, feels more natural to me, less assistive, but it also just doesn't give me as much energy, for those longer races. I'd also like to give a shout out today to another shoe tuber out there, Andy Raynor, who's the Forest of Dean runner. I'll put his info in the video description. If you haven't checked out his channel, he's been at this a very long time. He's very knowledgeable. He's one of the few people on here who's actually taller than me. I have to see how tall he actually is. It might say it somewhere. I'm 6'4". He's even bigger than me. He has some shoes that he can't get in his size because I believe he's over a size 13. Thankfully, I'm still a 12 or 12 and a half, so most of these super shoes are available in my size. But, come on, help us out. How about the big people of shoe brands? Make sure you don't discriminate for people with big feet. But I commented on one of his videos recently, and he subscribed to my channel, and had some words of encouragement for me as a new channel starting out, so I appreciated that. So everybody, if you haven't checked out Andy Raynor, the Forest of Dean runner, go check out his channel. He's one of the best out there. So thanks for watching the video today. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review.